Hey, um, so I'm sitting here, I'm watching the end credits of The Great Ace Attorney. I just beat it. Uh, I just want to give a little talksy about how I feel about it. Because Ace Attorney is my favorite game series. I don't think, maybe I said that on stream once or twice, but this is my favorite, specifically, let me get my copy of it. Um, One of the first games I had for my DS was, I have most of the Ace Attorney games physically, but of the ones that they ever fucking released. But it's my favorite game series, and I have here my first one that I played was actually Justice for All, not the first one. It was tough because I think Justice for All was my favorite for a long time. Trials and Tribulations is probably a better game, but it's not my favorite. And I love Apollo Justice too. Apollo Justice is a great game. Oh man, his credits are good. But I just beat this game for the first time, and this took me the longest to beat out of any of the Ace Attorney games. Not because it was difficult, because Ace Attorney games really aren't difficult, because they're literally visual novels. And, I mean, there's some point-and-click adventure elements to them, too, with, like, the investigation stuff. And, well, actually, no, my favorite one was not actually either of those. My favorite one, it's not a real Ace Attorney game. Let me see if I can find it. I mean, it basically is. It's not a mainline Ace Attorney, but Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright was actually my favorite of the series for a while. But the one that has most personal attachment is Justice for All. It took me a long time to finish this game, because it's two games. I think it's called Adventures, and then Resolve is the second one. But because I was really a lot of the mid cases. So the way Ace Attorney games are broken up, there's the opening case, which is usually the intro case for every game. It's basically a tutorial case. It's kind of a throwaway. It's usually just a trial. It's not even usually any investigation, just a trial, and it's pretty short. Then there's the big end case, which is like the main story case. And then in between there are, I guess you call them filler trials, just regular trials that stuff happens in. Vigil Ace Attorney, first you defend your friend Larry Butts. Then, there is, I believe, next is the Steel Samurai case, and then there is the Steel Samurai case third. God, I'm stupid. But anyways, there's a couple cases, and then the last case where you defend Edgeworth is the big story case where everything comes to light, and the stuff teasing throughout the game with, like, Edgeworth and, like, what happened, finally all comes out. Okay. This game, the mid cases, but the plots of the mid cases really don't tie in too much to the final case. Like, what happens to them, they're kind of self-contained, and there are some small thread lines of what happened, but really they're kind of filler. Right? They're filler episodes between the beginning and the end. This game, from the beginning episode of the first trial, it all is leading into the last case of the second game. So everything, every storyline, there's tons of unresolved things. Even in the end of the first game, like if you played this game in Japan all the years back and you just bought the first game, the ending of the first game leaves so much shit unresolved and so many unanswered questions that it's like, it's almost not satisfying to beat these cases individually piece by piece. However, the last case is the best case in the entire fucking series. The resolution, the build-up, the drama, the way it all plays out. It's like glued to your seat, like instantly, I gotta play it, I gotta finish this. And that's the end of the credits there. I'll put on some of the music from the game as the background. It is the best case in the series. So it's tough for me to say where I would put this game, both of them, because I don't think you can separate them, because they're two, essentially it's a 9-case Ace Attorney game. Oh, I received this end screen. That's cool. Yeah, I'm taking a screenshot of that. Let's see if I can get some more music pulled up from the music player. Special contents. I do appreciate this game has special contents. Instrumentals. Unused. Wow. They include a bunch of unused stuff? Put Cosmo's theme on. I think that's my favorite song from the game. There's a remix of the Cosmo theme in the second game when he comes back. That's my favorite. But sorry for the dead air there. I was just playing music. When the game finally hits its stride, it's the absolute best in the series. And before my favorite case in the whole series was the end case of Apollo Justice. That was my favorite one. Like I thought that was like the best. And the reason I think Phoenix Wright vs. Professor Layton is the best game in the series is because the investigation segments of that are all Professor Layton puzzles, and so it's a lot more engaging mentally than Phoenix Wright investigation stuff. So that's why that was my favorite overall game. But I'd like the main Ace Attorney games. Justice for All is my best blended story, but Apollo Justice is the best case in the series. Now, I will say the Gray Ace Attorney is much better than Dual Destinies, or whatever it's called. Yeah, I think it's Dual Destinies. Yeah, Dual Destiny sucks. Dual Destinies is like the worst game in the series by fucking leaps and bounds. It's dog shit. It's terrible. I want to say it's terrible. I mean, it's still an Ace Attorney game, so it's fun. It's alright. But one of the things that Ace Attorney games has a barometer of that it lets me gauge the quality of how good of a case and how well written it is. And you can usually tell when the game's not written by Shu Takumi where that quality little suffers a bit, is how often you will be penalized for pointing out a contradiction that the writers missed. Like there's a couple times in Dual Destinies where there's an obvious contradiction, where something that happened doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I think there was one time where a body fell in a certain way. It's like, that's unnatural for how the way the angle of the gunshot should have been. Like, there was a very clear, obvious contradiction as to what happened. But the writers didn't realize this, and so if you point it out, and you present evidence pointing it out, you are penalized because it's the wrong answer. Because, I mean, really, the courtroom things is finding the right evidence piece to present to the right statement. You're just essentially choosing the right option at the right place. But it's disguised in a way, and it's written in a way where it's like you have to think critically about the situation. And the problem is that, okay, it removes that disguise. It removes that element of being a lawyer or whatever, and uncovering the truth of what really happened in the case. And it removes that and forces in this fakeness where it's like the wool's pulled out from your eyes, and you realize you just have to present object A. You really just have to present object A and option C to get correct answer, right? It shows the coding. It shows how much of a game it is instead of a story. And there are moments like this in Great Ace Attorney, especially in the earlier cases, but at the same time, that happens less and less as the game goes on. Because part of the journey of this is, it starts Rinosuke from the beginning of his lawyer career to him eventually going back to Japan. And by the end, he's a full-fledged, confident Ace Attorney, which is a journey a lot of these games take. Like, the first Phoenix Wright game, it's him being a rookie lawyer and eventually becoming a great lawyer by the end of the game, right? And then, same thing with Apollo Justice. That's why they scrapped Phoenix, because they was like, we can't make him grow anymore as a character. Same thing they did with Apollo. And same thing they kind of did with Mia Fey and Trials and Tribulations. But what's interesting in this game is that it starts you off and it gives you those moments where it's like, you can see a contradiction, but you're kind of penalized, and you can't, it's like, it doesn't like penalize you for pointing them out, it doesn't give you the opportunity to point them out. It like delays it forever, and like it makes it like, oh, I don't know what to do. And as an Ace Attorney veteran, I'm screaming out, this is the contradiction. I want to point this out. I want to point this out right now. And for new players, maybe they're not screaming that and they're in Cosmo's shoes. But what's interesting is that as the game goes on, that fades. As he becomes more confident, it becomes more like you're more able to quickly present the evidence, and You're trusted more as a player. You are either Kazuma's catching up to where I am as a player. He's becoming a great Ace Attorney like I am because I've played all these fucking games to death. And I know how this game works. And it reflects in his characterization and his speaking. By the end of the last case, he has like this thing in the earlier cases where like he whimpers and like he doesn't, his hand slap is like not forceful. Like you don't need the classic Ace Attorney desk pound where you go like you're making a statement, like boom. And his one, it's a little weak slap in the beginning. By the end, that's gone. It keeps happening occasionally throughout the games, but it happens less and less and less. And then by the last case, it's gone. And by the last case, it's balls hard. How we have to present what evidence where. It's very easy to make a mistake, and it's very easy to posit that this information is right, but that you're actually wrong. So it's very, very easy to make mistakes in the last case. So it's like, it's all in service of the entire, like, fucking majority of the time. How much time did I even spend playing this game? Let me see. I can probably pull up my save file. Load game. It does not keep track. I'll have to go to my Switch. I played for 25 hours. This game took me 25 hours to beat, right? So, and the last case is probably like a 3-hour case, maybe 4 or 5 hour case. I don't know. So the 9 cases split up in like 25 hours, and this last case is definitely the longest because it's broken up against 2 parts. The last case, it's like essentially 20 hours in service of the 5 hours. And whether that's justified. Because, like I said, this took me a long time to slog through. It's a lot of me picking up the game, putting it back down, trying to get into it, kind of giving up, slogging through it. So especially the case where, like, you're essentially defending Soseki, who's the case, the defendant in the second case, no, it's not the second case, because the second case is when you're on the steamship on the first game. The defendant in the third case in the, I can check, because I have the game pulled up here. Select adventure. Select adventure. No, the defendant in the fourth case. The third case is a different one entirely. The defendant in the fourth case in the first game is also the defendant in the second case. He's also first of all, he appears as a witness in the trial in like the tutorial case in the second game. And then he is the defendant in the second case. So you get this character in like the second to last case of the first game, and then you immediately get jumped in. And he's back there, and he's like right in your face. And it's like it's so repetitive. It's like I feel like I just did this case, right? It just feels like it really feels like filler. But the story requires you to go through it because every single case from the beginning, from the very, very, very beginning, was written with the last case in mind. And there are storylines, and there's very intricate, detailed storylines connecting from point A, from the very first beginning, all the way to the end. That's not the case with the other Ace Attorney games. It's definitely, not only is it not the case with the other Ace Attorney games, individually, it's not even the case within the games themselves. Like Case 2 in Phoenix Wright is not related to Case 3 at all. And they're definitely not, I mean, there's some parts because Edgeworth's in them, but the fourth case has really nothing to do, plot-wise and story-wise, with the other 2 cases. Not the case of Trials and Tribulations, that's why it's one that people consider the best in the series. Definitely the case for Justice for All. The fucking clown, one of the circus case in this, is total filler. It does not have anything to do with anything else. I guess my main point is, I really, I think that's incredible. I think that's a really interesting way, but was it worth it? And I say probably yeah, because it gave us the best case in the series. It gave us the best moment probably I've had in the entire playing any of these games ever. It's really fucking satisfying. Is it the best game moment to moment though? I disagree. I don't think so. I still think to get more out of, you're not gonna get more out of investigations. I wish they would. Why don't fucking localize investigations too? You fucking cowards. Do it. I'll buy it. Put it on the DS. I'll buy the DS copy. I don't care. Is it as good as some of the moment? I think overall, Trial and Tribulation is probably a better game because each case individually is more unique and fun, and is more exciting and more fun to watch, right? More fun to play through, I should say. And like moment to moment gameplay wise, the best game in the series is probably Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton, because the investigations are so much more fun because it's Phoenix Wright, it's Professor Layton puzzles. I will say Spirit of Justice is better than Duel of Destinies. I think Spirit of Justice is a pretty good game. It's pretty great, actually. It might be up there as one of the better ones. I think Apollo Justice is actually one of the weaker ones, despite having what I consider to be the best case in the series. But, no, these are really good games. And I'm really... I don't know if that was... I'm just not sure the trade-off was worth it. I think a lot of people will not get to the last case. I think a lot of people will stop at... Well, I mean, if you beat the first part of the game, it leaves out you a pretty shitty ending. It's kind of like, well, this doesn't tell me much. It's not resolved at all. It might put off a lot of people. And it's a lot of slog, you know. Especially the fucking teleporting case in the... so... with the Professor Harebrained. Although towards the end of Professor Harebrained's case, that's where things get interesting. The beginning of that is kind of weak, but then by the end, it's like, oh, this is plot details leading into the last case, right? So it's super interesting. And I think the hardest part is to get through that second round of the Saki trial where Shamspear or whatever is up on trial. That is the hardest one to get through. It feels the most like filler, and doesn't always feel like filler, it feels like a repeat of filler. At least, so like when they did that they kind of did that in Justice for All, where the last case of Justice for All revolves around the Steel Samurai and Steel Samurai's successor and stuff like that. It's like essentially a sequel case to the first game's filler case, but it's so good, it's so well written, it's so fucking cool, doesn't matter. And also it's a different setting, a couple of characters crossover, but it's not the same at all. This one, the environments are the same. It literally feels recycled. It's literally just recycled shit. And it's not good. It's a low point. It's actually one of the lowest points in the series. But it does feed the story of the last case. It definitely does. And it's really, really all about that last case. And they pull out all the fucking stops. There's kind of a setup for a third game from this, I think. And I would really like to see it. I'm going to say 100% if you can buy this game, you can buy it on PC, PS4, and Switch. I don't tell people to spend money, whatever. You know, people e-bag or whatever. I never e-bag for myself, even though I do have a shirt store where I sell shirts. I don't even advertise it. I don't ask people to give me money, because I don't need money. I'm fine. Yes, I pay a lot of money to host the site, and yes, whatever, but I don't pay a lot of money. I pay money to host my site, you know. I probably, of all the people who eBay, I would have the most reasons to, because I could essentially set up a bank account essentially to pay for my site forever. That would be the ideal, but I would never fucking ask people for money, because it's against my principles. At some point, because I don't know what'll ever happen. I mean, I could die at any moment, and the site would get fucked, so at some point there will need to be some kind of fund set up for the site, separate from me. Probably a crypto-based fund would be my guess. I'll probably have to get a Ethereum thing going or whatever. Look at just there's an account that withdraws Ethereum or whatever, and then a separate bank, like a business account essentially. That's someone in my name, but also in at least a couple other people's names, so I can get the site paid off. So in case I die or something happens to me, there's always a fund so the site can continue to live on, no matter what. And you know, they just set up as donation for that, and then there's no profit. It just, purely whatever money goes in there, just hosts the server forever and pays off the domain name. I might have to buy a lifetime. I wonder if you could buy a domain name forever. You could purchase the rights to a domain for literally the end of time, maybe 100 years. But that'd be expensive, but I probably should do it. Anyways, that's a problem for another day. All I'm saying is this. First of all, I would like to actually for the Capcom to release Ace Attorney Trilogy. The digital download came. I'd like to get them to get a physical copy. I know they made a physical copy in Japan. Just release the game physically as a limited run or whatever. I don't care. I'll buy it. Secondly, make great Ace Attorney 3. There's clearly set. I would always ask more for new mainline Ace Attorney with Phoenix Wright before playing these games. I think that's probably better. And probably they support Apollo Justice and the two 3DS entries, Spirit of Justice and Dual Destinies, even though Dual Destinies is shit. Maybe port those as a trilogy, put Apollo Justice in those two games as like a 3-pack game. That might be the best way to do it. It'd be weird going from Apollo Justice and it's like beautiful, beautiful fucking 2D style. Oh my god, it's so gorgeous. Literally one of the prettiest games ever made. To the dogshit original 3D of Dual Destinies, which is just the worst. Oh, it's so bad looking. I can't do it. Like, it's so ugly. It's such an ugly, awful game. I hate it. And partially because it's not written by Shu Takumi, so it doesn't have the writing proper, and the new writing team just isn't as good. At least it wasn't as good in that game. It was the same team that did Ace Attorney Investigations, which I actually liked a lot, and they got their footing by Spirit Justice, so I guess. But normally I'd be asking, oh, give me a new regular Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney game, right? No. We need Great Ace Attorney 3. It needs to happen. There's a clear setup where... Oh, I suppose I didn't even mention it. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes is in this fucking game. It's a Sherlock Holmes Ace Attorney crossover, basically. And it's really fucking good. The stories have nothing to do with the Sherlock Holmes stories. Besides maybe the Speckled Band is kind of similar, but for the most part, it's like totally different. It's like absolutely 100% a different story. And that's good. That's really good, actually. But it's just such a fun... Such a well-made game. Let's go to special content again. And we'll put on some music. As I close out my thoughts, this is going to be like a quick review, but I ended up going 20 minutes, as I want to do when I'm talking about shit that I'm autistic about. Oh, here's the unused adventure. Do they not have fucking Gregson's theme in here? We'll do the objection theme. It's pretty basic. It's pretty bitchin'. They didn't use this. Doesn't fit the tone at all. This is a great song. There's like notes in this that like the developer knows on all the music and like all like listen to this. Scrap version of theme to accompany player investigating. This was rejected the moment it was heard. I knew it had a different feel to the rest of the soundtrack, so I took it to Mr. Takumi with some trepidation, thinking, well, it's a bit hard-boiled, but immediately rejected. This is a great theme. Anyways, one thing I will say. Absolutely essential. People understand this. Problem, Apollo Justice, and both the new 3DS Attorney games have. Those being Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. They have been unable to live out of the shadow of this man, Dick Gumshoe. He was the detective in all 3 Ace Attorney games, original. He was an integral part of what those games were like. This is a problem that Gene Trevor vs. Professor Layton has too. Basically, any game that doesn't have Dick Gumshoe, they're living in the shadow of Dick Gumshoe. Because this character, he looks stupid. His name is literally Dick Gumshoe. Like the most stereotypical detective name ever. He's like one of the best characters in the entire series. He's one of the best characters in gaming, period. I'm just gonna put it out there. He is like literally perfect. Perfect character. And the series has been unable to create a new detective character to replace him. Until now. They not only did it once, bitch, they did it twice. Because it's always an issue I have. It's like whenever I play an attorney game, it's like nowadays, like there's no Gumshoe. They got rid of Gumshoe. It's like he's gone. He's not allowed to be around anymore. He's like retired or whatever. So we can have Edgeworth and all these other characters that we know from the old games like Maya. No Gumshoe because fuck it, they have to do something new. He's untouchable. He's too old or whatever. This game introduces two great, amazing, essentially fills the detective role, where he's like usually the detective essentially in cases, he's usually the first guy in the witness stand for every case. He is the guy who describes what happens. He's the guy who explains what the crime happened. He's the prosecution's first witness, almost always, is the lead detective. It's always Dick Gumshoe. Now, there's not only Inspector Hosonaga, who's the Japanese version of him, who is an incredibly great comedic character, who's extremely interesting and fun to play around with, and has he's just amazing. Just a really, really a top tier character. You also have Inspector Gregson in Britain, who is nowhere near as silly of a character. I mean, he's got a couple of quirks, but he's way more serious, and it works. He's 100% a complete and total Gumshoe replacement, and then they kill him off. But he is as good as Gumshoe, if not better. And Hosonaga is also as good as Gumshoe, although way sillier. So they did it. They finally made a new detective character, and they made him work, and they made them interesting and fun. Whereas that's been a huge hole in the last couple of Ace Attorney games, where the detectives just suck. They're super boring, and they're not fun. Now, I suppose the last thing I should comment on is the other big tropes in these games is the companion, who in the first game is Maya, second game it's Pearl, and the third game it is once again Maya. For most of the game, although it goes back between Maya and Pearl, where you're an investigation companion essentially, where you have someone who sits by your side at the courtroom case and gives you through stuff. I think Susato is my favorite of the entire series. Maya was, because she's Maya. She's the fucking best. But Susato just works. And there's actual legitimate romantic tension between her and Naruhodo. And it's not creepy or weird, because they don't have a huge age gap, like some Phoenix and Maya do. And also, he doesn't have her older sister, who was his boss, protecting her, giving her huge mommy milkers. That doesn't happen with Susato. There's actually very little of any. There's no supernatural elements in this game. And there's no gimmick. There's no, supernatural or, spiritual or, crazy, wacky shit gimmick, right? Like in the other games. The gimmick is the jury system, which was in Professor Layton versus Phoenix, right, actually. And then multiple witnesses. There's no Magatama where you can unlock truth locks or whatever. There's no Apologist's hidden eye, detection stuff. Just throwing out straight up story. Which is, I think, good. It's a different flavor. It's more grounded. It's more realistic. That's cool. But Susato is, there's legitimate romantic tension between her and Rinosuke, and she is excellent. Now, Barrack Fox Sykes is not my favorite prosecutor in the series. He's not as good as... He's no Edgeworth. Edgeworth is the best prosecutor in the series. People say it's Godot. It's not Godot. It's Edgeworth. You fucking pleb. Edgeworth is the best in the series, without a doubt. He's on the cover of 2 of these games. He's on the cover of 3 of these fucking games. He's the second character. Besides Phoenix, right? He's the second main character of the entire series. Realistically. Yeah, no, Edgeworth is, no one is as good. I don't think Barrack Fox Sykes is even as good as Francisco Von Karma. He's definitely no Godot. He's better than the 3S, the Crow guy prosecutor, but he's not as good as Edgeworth, any of the original series prosecutors. He's fun, and his story plays into the last case really well. He's a very cool character, but he's not a good, he's not a fun prosecutor to fight against. I do like the last cases against your best friend, Kazuma. I do like that a lot, and I like that dynamic. That's really cool. I love that, actually. That's one of the things that makes that case work so well. So yeah, I think also Barrack being such a weak opponent, in my mind, makes the whole game does feel kind of flat, because the courtroom scenes aren't as much fun without the prosecutor being so full of personality and be such a fun opponent. I guess that's my thing. I guess that's the thing. There's a lot of things that are weaker than the rest of the series. So I'm trying to say, especially the original trilogy. There's a lot of things that are weaker than the original trilogy, but the last case is the best the series has ever had to offer. And there's a lot of things that are better than the original trilogy, too. The exploration is more fun. The moment-to-moment characters are probably more fun. Pacing's overall better. The only 3-day trial in the entire game is the last one. And that one's split between 2 parts. So even that, like, each episode there's no episode that has 3 trial days. And that, it does make the original games kind of a slog. With those 3 trials, it's like, the pacing is 2. The pacing is 2 days, and they got that down right. And I just, I'm excited to see what they do next. I would encourage, if you have, and I bought mine on Switch because I'm a fucking Nintendo peasant faggot, but PC, PS4, Switch, whatever you have, I don't know if it's on Xbox. Probably not on Xbox. If you don't have an Xbox, get a PC. If you play Xbox, get like a laptop. I think it's on mobile, actually. But get like a mediocre laptop. I think basically any mediocre laptop can run this game. It's pretty easy. Yeah, please play the Ace Attorney games. You can pirate it, but I'd rather people please buy the game so they release more. Unironically, like I want them to make more games. This is my favorite game series of all time, and I would love for people to keep playing it and for more games to get made. And I've been pretty treated the last couple of years, where they've really shown a lot of love to those fans by finally releasing these games. And I would appreciate if they ported the other 3DS games to Switch or modern platforms too, and get them off the 3DS, because I don't have a 3DS anymore because the FBI took it. One last closing thing. I made a mention on Twitter that Junko Enoshima from Danganronpa is my waifu now. And, listen, I love Faye Valentine. She was my waifu, but Cowboy Bebop is now a Netflix series. And even though that's not the same Faye, there's a version of Faye out there that is that. It's the Netflix, the welcome to the ouch motherfucker. That hurts. That broke my heart. It's like seeing my wife get raped. That destroyed me. That broke my heart. When they took my waifu, Faye Valentine, and they took her beautiful face. I like this one better. And they took her, and they made the stupid Mexican woman, in her name, say, "Welcome to the ouch, motherfucker." That hurt me. That really hurt. It's like they raped her. They raped her in front of me. I know Junko's a whore. I know. But I kind of like whores. They haven't destroyed her yet. They haven't hurt her. I just can't look at her the same way. I can't look at her. I just can't do it. The way they hurt her, bros. It actually breaks my heart. It breaks my fucking heart. I can't do it. So, I'm gonna play through a Danganronpa again and review it after I do my Let's Play Sonic Adventure. Bye.